after Hensley drove the car at Michigan, he was replaced by Ward Burton. So 95 was a year of y'all sort of finding yourself. You got MBNA as a sponsor, and you're rotating through drivers. Was that? I mean, I imagine that wasn't preferable to be in that position, but do you think, finally when you get a hold of Ward, do you recognize right away that Ward's somebody that's going to stick around, that you're excited about Ward?
Yeah, and he was excited to be there.
Yeah.
And had speed.
Yeah. What was the problem with, Hensley always seemed to be that kind of stopgap, fill-in, substitute driver. He's up in age in that point in his life. Not a guy you're looking to build a long-term future with, I imagine. Randy didn't work out for whatever reason. What do you recall what the struggles were with Randy?
He's pretty bullheaded. Wasn't at that time maybe a great team player, and the sponsor really didn't like him.
Yeah, I got you.
It was just a lot of things.
Just a bad fit.
It wasn't a good future for either one of us.
When you get Ward, Ward wins the first race at Rockingham.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder what your emotions were about that, because, obviously you're thrilled to win a race, right?
Absolutely.
The car's competitive. Who's the crew chief? Do you recall who the crew chief was at that point in time?
I think it still would have been Chris Hussey. Hussey.
So
sure it was. Of course it was Chris.
You had
smart guy.
I wonder where you are mentally about, drivers and loyalty, right? You've had a couple situations where that didn't work out in your favor. You go out and you win your first race. You just nabbed Ward. We've seen Ward drive that Hardy's car, that 31, in a limited schedule in the Cup Series, set on the pole at Charlotte and do some pretty cool things. There was the tire war going on back then as well that muddied the waters. But when you get Ward and he wins a race, are you my reaction would be, God dang, I got to get this guy under contract. Like I need to avoid going down the same path again where I show the world what a great driver this guy is, and he goes and drives for somebody else instead of staying with me. Did you have any of that kind of reaction to that win at Rockingham?
Well, we had a contract, and Ward was all in at that time.
Yeah.
We were the team.
Y'all were the team he wanted to be with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of speed, a lot of places.
In 96 through 98, y'all continued to improve, continued to grow, and then you restart the Bushker National Team. One of my favorite paint schemes of all time, the Amico car.
Oh, yeah.
Man, what a beautiful race car. And you nabbed a really, really, really incredible person. Good, solid race car driver, but a really, really good guy, Dave Blaney.
Huge guy.
Yeah.
One of my favorite people.
Mine too. I was lucky enough to be racing in the Xfinity Series with Dave at that time. Mm-hmm. This is silly. I love the Amico car because when I raced late models, everybody was running Unical or high octane track gas or whatever it was, but the best stuff to put in a late model stock car at the time was Amico 93.
That stuff's good.
It ran the best.
Really good.
Yeah, it did the best on the dyno, even better than any high octane, Unical or racing fuel. And so when the Amico car comes out, and I'm racing against that car, it was just hard not to like it because of what I knew about the fuel. And Dave was so quiet. Dave was this established superstar in the dirt world. And so, in a way, I was like, man, this is incredible. This guy is going to try to now carve out this career in the stock car, and I get to be out there. I really admired him, and boy, he's so hard to talk to. He's so quiet back then, at least.
He still is.
Yeah, and
he's shy.
Yeah, he is kind of shy. I remember y'all having some really, really solid runs in that car.
Great runs.
Atlanta was a great track. But it was so fun to go to the racetrack. Beautiful race car. Always a good time to be out there on the racetrack with him. I remember that very fondly.
Me too.
Yeah. So you're back. Your team is growing in this point in time. 1998, 99, going into the 2000 season, y'all expand to 2 cars. You bring Dave up into the Cup ranks with the 93 car, Amoco sponsorship. So you're fielding a car for Ward and a car for Dave. Where are you financially? You seem like the kind of person that's financially putting every dime
every penny
into this thing. You had to have been.
Everything.
Yeah.
Because we were never sponsored up. We were always just a tick behind. When the Childresses and those people were getting $8 million, we were getting 4.5, or 5.
Yeah.
And then when they moved to 12, well, then we got to 8.
Yeah.
We were just always.
How'd the Amoco deal come about?
A guy named Lee Dorrington, we had known him for a while, and he was a sponsor, 100 Cap guy. And he was a huge Dave Beatty fan, and he just put it all together.
Yeah. Ward would return to Victory Lane in 2000 at Darlington, and that was y'all's final win with Pontiac. Blaney would finish third in Rookie of the Years. You ran R&D cars at times. The 23 car with Scott Wimmer at the Napa 500. You had a lot of history of running R&D cars. Was that a motive of your own, or was this team driven? They wanted to try things.
Probably some of all.
Yeah.
A little bit of manufacturer. We did a lot of testing with those things.
Yeah. In 2001, y'all switched to Dodge, running the Intrepid, and Ward would win at Darlington that year.
What led to that, by the way? Because I remember when Dodge came into the sport, that was a big deal. Like, I remember that being a huge deal to get that OEM.
Yeah.
And you were right there when they entered the sport, right? And how did that materialize for you guys?
And there were 3 teams: the Petties, Ray, and
Evernham, and you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They approached us, thought we looked like a likely candidate, I guess. The Pontiac deal was okay, but it wasn't great. It's what it was.
Right.
It's the best we had at the time. And they came in and offered more. And the problem with the Dodge deal, their engineering wasn't very deep. They didn't have, they hadn't raced.
Right.
It wasn't like, they had guys that had been car designers, and not knocking them. They were good guys. There's a couple that were extremely bright, but it just didn't work.
Was that you ran Dodge for a really long time. You ended up running Dodge till 2006. But there was some issues. There was an issue with a lawsuit that Dodge brings about because of y'all's development of the Toyota program.
We had a separate company.
Yeah.
Separate building, separate staff, developing the truck.
For Toyota. To come run. So truck is entering NASCAR at the truck series level.
Yes.
And this business that you have, completely separate of your Cup organization, is part of helping develop that particular truck.
Yeah, it was a separate engine deal. Terry Elge was doing the Cup stuff.
Yep.
John Dysinger, who had been with Leo Jackson for years, was doing the Toyota stuff.
Yeah.
And completely separate.
And you didn't think that was a big deal, but when Dodge hears about this and they get upset?
Yeah, they just felt like it was a conflict, and I guess it was. They prevailed in court.
So why weren't y'all able to have a conversation about it and say, hey, man?
Oh, we tried. I mean, we stayed in our position.
But why would Dodge? I mean, you have a relationship with Dodge. Why wouldn't Dodge, not let this go to, a court battle?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah,
certainly could have been settled a lot easier.
Right.
Yeah.
And you wanted to, but it just didn't go that route. allowed that. You weren't afforded that opportunity.
I'm curious, was there a misunderstanding? Was this all about the truck series, or did they think that you were working with development of a cup car? Because I remember, if I remember correctly, Toyota came in as a truck
Period.
only. Yeah, truck only.
Well, I'm sure they were looking at big picture.
I assume that too. That's why I guess I'm wondering, like, was this really about the truck series, or did they think that there was something bigger going on?
It was just about Toyota coming.
Wow. So, man.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
I
Right.
I wasn't in any of their meetings.
But that happened like midway through your deal with Dodge. You continued running Dodge for several more years, right?
Well, yeah. So I just said that. So y'all win the Daytona 500 in 2002. When was the first inkling that Dodge is becoming aware of this Toyota thing? That's in the middle of 2003. I mean, you're kind of still on a high from winning one of the biggest races in the sport. Ward's certainly winning the biggest race of his career. You're still a two-car team with Hut Strickland, Hills Brothers. That goes away. Kenny Wallace comes with Stacker 2. You got Scott Wimmer driving some races. You ended up shutting down your full-time second car in the middle of 2003 or for 2003. You go away from having two cars. You're back to one with Ward. Mm-hmm. And so I suppose sometime in the middle of 2003, they discover that there's this separate business that's developing the truck for Toyota. They get angry. And you're required to pay Chrysler $6.5 million?
I thought it was $5.
Well, still.
It was a whole lot of money.
That's a damn lot of money.
Yeah. It wasn't fun.
Why did they need $5 million of your dollars?
Yeah, right. Good question. I needed a lot worse than they did.
So you were able to, I mean, how do you even do that? Is that like something you paid over time? Because you continue to race. I'm just curious because $5 million would shut me down.
Actually, Toyota stepped up and helped us.
I'll be damned. So
I mean, we were responsible for it, but they
helped you out.
Financed it. That's what they put it.
But even while you're still running Dodge?
Why did you keep racing the Dodge to 2006?
So Toyota got ready to go cup racing.
You were waiting on that. And Dodge was okay with you continuing to run their car?
I guess
it didn't matter. Were you not getting any support from them anyways, right? Were you getting support from them when this lawsuit comes about?
What they had available. Yeah. I mean, like they'd cast the engine blocks and ship them in there and they'd crack in the floor. Yeah. We had to get Caterpillar to build the engine blocks.
Really?
That's problematic, I would assume.
Was it? I mean, Dodge pulled its manufacturing support in 2003 in October. You ran Dodges till 2006. You covered up the Dodge logos on the cars, but that was due to the ruling of the district court in Detroit. They ruled in favor of Chrysler, and so you had to cover the decals up on the car. All that I don't even remember this. This would be massively, in today's world with Twitter and everything else, it'd be completely dramatized. But
yeah, I don't know that it really totally was.
It kind of flew under the radar to an extent, for something to being so controversial and such a disruption, I suppose, for you and Chrysler and everybody else involved. Y'all settled out of court in 2006. And
actually, we went to court.
Yeah.
And got whacked.
Right.
Oh,
yeah.
So that wasn't a settlement. That was
judgment.
A court ruling.
Okay.
Got it. That sucks.
Interesting.
Were you having to go to court? I mean, were you going?
I spent a month in Detroit.
Good heavens!
So when the Dodge deal comes about, Ray's team seemed to be
the focus.
Yeah, I mean that thing was set up to succeed. It was red cars, Dodge all down the front, down the sides of them. How was when Dodge comes in, when a manufacturer like that comes in, I guess, how do they decide, like, okay, here's the pie, and there's going to be three teams, this team and this team and this team. Was it understood that there would be an A, B, C, or?
Well, I don't know that it was understood completely. I mean, I do know that they had, how do I word this, indications that Jeff was going to come with
Jeff Gordon? Okay.
And that,
As a partner or as a driver?
driver. And that didn't work out.
Yeah.
So that probably made a big difference.
That must have been, yeah.
But they were committed by then.
Yeah.
And I mean, of course, Ray, he did a great job putting together a hell of a team.
Yeah. That team I thought was going to be a hell of a dynasty.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's surprising to me, I guess, that the Dodge deal didn't really pan out.
Yeah, that's what had Ray was Dodge.
Yeah. Yeah.
They weren't. They just weren't there.
Yeah. So what does a manufacturer like Dodge lack? What was their shortcoming? It just takes a ton of money.
Well, money and
support?
experience and understanding of the sport and the way things go.
But Toyota comes in, they're not experienced, and they had a very structured sort of progress through the Truck Series, Xfinity, Cup. I mean, it wasn't like, bam, we're a Cup team.
No,
maybe their process was better.
Well, and they had
a ton of money they were willing to put into it.
Well, and they were racers, Indy cars, and they had TRD, and they had engineering, and they were smart enough to come in and listen to how things work down here.
Yeah.
Rather than, we'll show y'all.
Yeah. Huh. I remember Dodge's, when I remember the Dodge, this has no effect on Cup racing at all. But man, when I was racing, so I'm racing a late model stock car back in the 90s, and a Dodge, man, made power. Dodge was always looked at as an engine that, even back in the Hemi days, right?
Oh yeah.
It had a reputation
That was their deal.
for being a monster engine. You had to work your ass off to get the Ford and Chevrolet V8 to do what you wanted it to do, but the Mopar power was readily available, all on the table. That's the way.
In late model stocks.
Well, in everything, right?
Yeah.
When they ran Hemis in the 70s with
yeah.
Petties, and they had to choke them Chargers down to make them, give Cale and those other guys, the Fords, a chance. When they come into the sport in the 2000s, I felt like there was a similar sort of excitement around what they might be able to do, right? And
I think there was a great expectation.
yeah.
Coming back to the sport.
I just don't understand how it didn't work.
It just didn't work. I don't know. Maybe they didn't have the right team.
Do you think that the rumblings and rumors of them ever coming back would ever materialize? You just don't know?
I can't imagine it would.
You don't think so? Yeah.
But
Because people talk about,
you hear it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're always talking about they're trying to get new OEMs in. You hear, there's only so many to go get. You just assume that's one of them.
I think that I would imagine, with their, they've already done this once, and I don't have a ton of confidence in them.
I wouldn't think so.
Coming back to do it.
I sure would. I'd be awfully surprised.
Me too. Ward is going to leave the team. When does Ward leave? In 2004? Ward leaves, and Wimmer's going to drive full time. Wimmer wins at Dover, running your little Xfinity car. Wimmer's running running second, got some wins. A lot of people were high and excited on him. Young guy. And Ward's moving on. Y'all were struggling with Ward throughout the last several years in the Dodge. We've had Ward on the show. He had nothing but great things to say about his experience driving for you, and just chalks up the performance there in the last several years to personnel and difficulties just trying to get speed and power on the track. A lot of changes in the team, but are you?
Well, the big problem with Ward was confidence. He had no confidence in whoever's working on the car.
Really?
The first time he had a bad day, none with that guy. He can't build shocks.
Yeah.
Ronnie Crooks, I'm sorry, he can build shocks.
Yeah.
He just
y'all ran together a long time,
Years.
So I mean those issues with Ward were manageable, right? But I guess they they progressed and became more and more difficult to
More and more difficult.
handle over time. Was the decision for Ward to leave a mutual one? And so you're fine because you got Scott Wimmer, right? You think this kid's
Oh, had a ton of potential.
got
there.
what it takes. Yeah. Hey, if you like that video, like and comment below, and don't forget to subscribe so you'll never miss another piece of Dirty Mo Media content.